Welcome to TimeBender Talks, the ultimate destination for professional photographers. This weekly podcast is hosted by Peggy McCartha, a certified professional photographer with over 30 years experience and the creator of the Headshot Strategist certification program. Peggy interviews a diverse range of experts in business, branding, marketing, networking, and photography. So whether you've been doing this for years or you're just starting out, we've got you covered. Oh, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our latest episodes filled with tips, insights, and lots of fun.
As always, I have an amazing guest with me today. Derek, I am excited that you decided to come hang out with me. We talked the other day, and obviously you have a lot of amazing things to say. So please tell all of our listeners who you are and where you are on your journey.
Hey everyone, I am Derek Couts, and I am a brand strategist for my company B.Human, which started with the idea that marketing needs to be actually made for humans. It's not all about algorithms and data and all the other analytical things that happen to fall on a computer, but it's about the things that are emotional and unseen, the things that you feel rather than you can track. And this started because of my journey as a wedding photographer myself. Actually, I try to do all the things from the analytical stance, but it always seemed to be very face value. It would be one of those things that would catch you in that you're just the photographer or you're just the vendor rather than you're a part of the day. And one of the things that really kind of made things flip for me was one of my mentors. And he helped me along with this journey of, we have all this data and analytics, but what do we do with it? How does it actually help us connect with people at a human level? And that set me on a journey where I just became obsessed with how can we use digital marketing tactics to build a brand that is based around being human. So one day I woke up and it was just screaming loud in my head, be human, be human, be human. So that's where Be Human got started.
I love that because obviously, I've been a professional photographer for a very long time. And that's why I'm doing this, is because so many of us, the marketing it's hard because it's not built for humans. If you look at the traditional marketing, it's like, how are you supposed to, as a solopreneur, as a small business owner, post 12 times a day and still, if you do get more clients, when are you supposed to work with those clients? Like, there's so much, noise out there that is just like, it doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't feel comfortable and authentic to you, then is it really helping your business? So I loved when I heard the Be Human. And I also love the fact that you were a wedding photographer. You still are a wedding photographer. Am I right?
Yes, I am.
Is there anything else that you're super passionate about with photography, or is weddings your thing, or do you like to do other things as well?
No, I just love weddings, and the reason for it is I honestly believe that uh, you can't get any more interaction than with a wedding in terms of who all you meet. And I mean, you never know who all is going to be there. You could be at some backyard wedding, um, but there will be the most amazing people there with the most amazing connections, or you could be at the most elaborate of places and then make connections with the planners and the venue owners. And there's just so much connection that happens at a wedding. Um, I don't think there's any better way to get into someone's inner circle than by being part of a very important day to them.
And I always felt like, even when I'm invited to a wedding of a friend that's maybe like a casual friend, if we're invited to their wedding, I'm always like, I would so much rather just, like, as a gift, shoot this, because to me it's like, I don't like I guess because I've never really gone to events my whole life without working them. So I feel really awkward. I'm that awkward person in the corner that doesn't talk unless I have a camera in my hand. Then I can talk, I can work the whole room, and I have an excuse to talk to people and meet people. And I agree with you. I think so much networking happens when you're photographing a wedding or any event as far as that goes, because when you have that camera in your hand, it's not weird to start talking to people, and you can really open up conversations, things that you could never do if you were just sitting there as a guest. You can ask like really deep questions, make really
Hmm.
deep connections, and then it's not weird because you're working, and that's your job, is to pull out their emotions and to really dig deep and to find out who they are and capture that. So that's the thing about weddings. I love the things about weddings that I don't love is I actually interned with a really high end wedding photographer. This is back in 1989, 90. So this was film. And when I tell you, he filled my life with stress. Because if anything went wrong, you didn't know it until you developed the film. And when I was assisting him and learning, and he's very, very adamant about being perfect. So there's always that. Even though I've been doing weddings for years, there's still that like that little stress that comes up, and yeah, I kind of like that. I mean, is it really anxiety or is it just excitement? But either way, you feel that in your gut before everyone.
Yeah. Hey, but at least during the moments, though, it's the uncomfort that's where you find growth. So there is at least that was happening during those times of all that the uncomfortable moments with him. Because if anything, what you can learn from it is how to start developing your own style and how you can make your own things less stressful. So there is at least that growth that happens from it.
I love that you're the brand strategist as the headshot strategist. How I came to this is different than the way you came to it, but it's like from a different angle, but the exact same thing. I started photographing headshots for photographer or for actors, and they were like, these aren't very good. And nobody in my career had ever told me my work wasn't good before. So I got like super. I'm not saying that all photographers can be egotistical. I'm just saying that no one had ever told me that my work sucked before. Take that however you want. And I was like, what do you mean? These are beautiful. But actors don't need a beautiful picture. They need an impactful picture that catches the attention of casting directors. And so when I started diving into that, I realized that when my corporate clients would come in, they were just like cheese. And we'd spend hours with my actors to really make them look like a specific way to attract a specific type of thing. And then I was like, wait a minute, why aren't corporate people using this as part of their branding? And that's where that all came apart. So I think I kind of fell into it, not so much as thinking about me and how I was branding, but my clients. I'm like, why aren't you like, I've learned these amazing tools and techniques. Why aren't you using this to attract your ideal clients? So I kind of came at it at that. But we came to the same conclusion. There's a lot of power in marketing and branding. So tell me what you do as a brand strategist. How do you bring that human element in?
Yeah. So the first thing in branding is you have to know exactly, you have to know why you're doing something. Because if you don't have a real reason and why you're going to solve some kind of problem, then you're just going to make something up out of thin air and you can't actually grasp what you're trying to do. For instance, let's just say that you wanted to go and create the world's best cookie. Well, why did you want to do that? Well, because I just want to make the world's best cookie. Well, how do you know what the world's best cookie is if you don't even have a heart for it? If you're just trying to think, oh, it's a moneymaker. Versus if you're able to say, hey, cookies are great, they're awesome, but they're just not fluffy enough. And so you consider the world's best cookie to be fluffy. And so you're saying, okay, great, I'm going to create a fluffy cookie. And then you have to know who it is that you're doing it for. You're creating this for people who love fluffy cookies. What does that do? That goes on to then create your messaging. Well, if I'm going to do this for people who love fluffy cookies, then I need to make my messaging about the best, fluffiest cookies ever. So then you can take all of that, and I'm immediately saying that, like just pulling that out of thin air. I think of bold, like bubbly typefaces and bright and airy colors, like, light blues and stuff, things that just feel fluffy. Because you have to align that brand. And so that goes into brand strategy and how it all looks. But then you have to think, all right, so I've got the brand aesthetic. Like I've nailed my why, I've nailed my who, and I know what it is, but where am I going to put it? How am I going to get it out to the world? And this is where you have to continue to think, well, who is this for? These are people who love fluffy cookies, but also they love to shop at, you know, they're doing it for their kids. And let's get this out into, I don't know, retail. We want to get this out into retail. Okay, well, we want to think we need to make it really kid friendly if they're wanting to do it for kids, and we need to buy the space on the shelves that's at kid height level. That tells you where the market there is. Also, if you're like, hey, these kids are on YouTube. These kids love to watch the kids opening YouTube toys and stuff. You can put ads out there, or maybe it's parents that are just saying how to make cookies. Maybe part of it is you also have recipes on like how to make your own fluffy cookies, so that if someone searches how to make a fluffy cookie, and there you are, you're showing up in the right places, and it's like, hey, here's how to make a fluffy cookie. Also, you could just buy some. There's just so many ways. It goes into understanding like where you actually need to put it out there. And then finally, you just have to make the experience. That's ultimately where it comes down to, is the experience that you can make for it. Because if it's just transactional, then hey, that's not fun. But if you can find that human element, let's say it's for parents again who love the fluffy cookies and they're doing this for the kids. Well, what's something that you can make this about an experience for them? Sure, it tastes good, but also let's say that the part of it is that you actually have to create the cookie together and follow the step-by-step direction. And oh, by the way, in this we include pictures that you can draw on, but they're aprons also that you can wear during the cooking process. So just things that you can enhance that entire experience. And who's it for? The why, who, what, how, all that stuff.
I love that. And I think that basically what I heard was know who your ideal client is, like know who this cookie is for. It's not for me. I'm not your ideal client. I want my cookies crunchy. Like I don't want my cookies fluffy. That's what cake's for. So I'm not your ideal client. That's okay. But who is your ideal client? And not just like, for me as a photographer, I used to say, well, my ideal client is anybody with a face. Well, that's not true, because there's a ton of people that I don't want to work with. There's a ton of people that don't think I'm funny and cool, which is weird to me because clearly I'm amazing, but there are people that I annoy. So, why is that? Well, they're not my ideal client. We definitely don't want to be stuck together in my studio for an hour, because then they're not going to have a great experience and they're not going to give me a great review, and it's not going to be wonderful. So find out who you're talking to, who likes those fluffy cookies, who loves those fluffy cookies, and where do they hang out? So I think it's important. I feel like too many times we get caught up thinking like we got to be everything to all people, and that way we're not going to miss out. And that's the opposite. When we're all things to all people, we don't attract anyone because we're just like mediocre. But if we make a stand and we're like, you know what? Fluffy cookies are the bomb. And if you don't think so, then, go eat some crunchy cookies somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, oh, go ahead.
No. And then, then the people that really do like fluffy cookies that have been like, other people made fun of, and they're like, hey, that's right, that's us. We're like, we have the best cookies in the world. And they kind of like band together and come out. But they would have never, if you just said the best cookie, there would have been like, oh, I don't like cookies, I like fluffy cookies. They would have never known that they liked your cookies, because you weren't, putting your marketing directly towards that human that loves your cookies. So that's really good.
Yeah, it's, for me, it's kind of like, whenever I'm a huge nerd, and that immediately is like, oh, this guy's probably like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, and I am all in on Lord of the Rings. And then I'll get in conversations with some people, and they'll, hey, Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter? Oh, I like Harry Potter. And then I immediately, you're a loser in my mind because Lord of the Rings is clearly superior. And then that puts me in this group of other people who are like, yeah, Lord of the Rings is the best. And then other people are saying, you must have been homeschooled growing up because obviously Harry Potter is the best. So there's all kinds of things. But yeah, you can find your communities, which is a huge thing in any kind of branding. Whenever you are able to actually set yourself up and to take a stance on something. So absolutely.
I grew up, my dad was an entrepreneur, owned several businesses and small communities. So it was always like, don't offend anyone. Don't, keep your opinions to the dinner table. Don't, he didn't want to offend anyone. And so I started off my business that way. And then I realized, no, I want to offend the people that aren't my ideal clients. It's much easier if they're offended and they just leave me alone, because the thing that's going to offend them is going to attract the people that I want to hang out with, that are like ready to pay me money and like get this done and be like, yes, yes, yes. So it's, I know it's a scary step for some people that are used to just throwing the blanket out there or throwing the spaghetti on the wall, hoping that something sticks. It's scary to be like really specific, but as soon as you start doing that and finding your people, what has your experience been like? Do you have people that kind of push back when you tell them this and they're like, no, but what if I miss this person or that person? How do you deal with that?
So there's kind of the concept that everyone has had for the longest time is cast your nets wide, and then you can sort through the mess there. But I'm a huge fan of going an inch wide and a mile deep.
Exactly.
And the idea of that is, just find it can be a hard concept to grasp at first, because obviously everyone's idea is like, hey, we want to go after everyone. But like you said, whenever you do that, you really go after no one. You can't be hot or cold or you can't be in the middle. You have to be either hot or cold. So in my experience, whenever people are saying, yeah, we want to go after everyone, and they're very set on that, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, we can do that, but let's do that for a little bit, see how it goes. After it doesn't work, let's try to find, okay, what at least stood out from among this. Like, hey, there was at least one conversation. Okay, well, what did that conversation look like? Well, they told me a little bit more about what they were looking for, and they seemed like they were an actual client that I wanted to work with. Okay, so what are some other things that we can identify about that worked? Why don't we find out some other problems that made her reach out to you and see if we can start speaking to that problem specifically? So let's say listing websites. Like, I know wedding photographers left and right absolutely hate places like Wedding Wire and The Knot and all these other big names, because it just throws out your name amongst your competition. But what if instead you're able to find these smaller niche listings that are, say, like state specific, and they only allow 12 people in at a time to be there? One, that eliminates so much competition, but it's also a lot more helpful, because now instead of having hundreds of thousands of photographers to look at, they're limited to 12, and then it eliminates that paralysis by analysis, right? Instead, it's like, okay, cool, we can list it out by, here's my price, and here is the style I'm looking for. And then it only shows those 3 people, right? You can really solve a lot more problems by getting specific to the problem versus trying to speak to everything at once. And then your message just gets all messed up, because then it's like, what do I talk about today? What do I talk about tomorrow? What do I talk about the day after that? Versus, this is the problem that we solve.
And not only that, it's exhausting to cast your net wide. It's exhausting and it's expensive. It's just cheaper and easier to talk to your message, like, to narrow that down. And the thing that you got to remember is you're not missing all those other people. Because when these guys come in as your client, they're going to tell all their friends and family. They're going to cast that net wide for you with referrals, where you're spending your time and energy and money, because marketing is not free. Like, no matter what free platform you're marketing on, it is not free, because you've got to spend the time to make those videos. You got to spend the time to do that content. I know that for me, my marketing isn't free, and I don't spend a lot of dollars on my marketing right now, but I spend a lot of time on my marketing, and I've invested in people to help me to do this. And it's so much cheaper and less mind-boggling. You're not so frustrated. Like, if I send this message out to 25 people and 20 people reply to it, that makes me feel awesome. If I send this huge message out to 200 people and I spend a ton of money and 20 people reply to it, I feel like, not that many people replied.
Yeah.
But
Well,
the
and then
same
also
20
you're also
people
looking at
replied.
getting spammed. And then
Yeah.
you're also looking at being listed as spam, and then your email going to no one. And that's why it's so
Yeah.
important that, having those personal relationships, those human relationships, being able to target down to it. That's another thing that really does help your business, because whenever you're at a human level communicating to other people, it's going to go way better for you, for your business as well, for the business health.
And I'm going to tell on you, because you DM'd me and said, "Hey, let's chat." And that's my thing. Like, I like friend somebody and I immediately DM them and I'm like, "Hey, let's chat." And you like DM me first. I was like, "Wait, what?" That's my game. That's my game. So, okay. But because I personally believe in relationships, I think that a relationship is more important than the transaction, than the money. Because if you build relationships, the money is going to come. But when you build relationships, you start figuring out what you actually need to give people, because you listen and you're like, "Oh, I didn't even think of that. I can totally help you with that. I wonder if other people need that help too. Let me just add that to my program. Oh, look at that." Instead of just assuming what everyone wants and missing the mark. When you're talking to people and treating them like they are important, because they should be, and you're building that authentic relationship, it's going to make you grow, because they're going to show you what you need to market. They're going to show you the improvements that you need to make in whatever service you're offering, whether it's photography, whether it's, coaching, whatever it is. They're going to show you what they need. They're going to ask you, "Hey, could you also do this for me?" It's like, "Oh yeah, I bet other people would like that." And you add that in. And so bringing the human side into this and actually listening and talking is just going to make you better at whatever it is you do, no matter what.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's so many ways you can make any kind of digital outreach human, honestly. Let's take, for instance, writing a blog, right? And a lot of people are like, "Okay, SEO algorithms, do your thing." But what if, instead of relying on algorithms, you're able to rely on people to help you get the word out? Let's say, we'll stick with wedding photographers, because this is something that I know. There are a ton of hands that are involved with any kind of wedding, from all the vendors, which includes the videographers, planners, their teams, the catering, florists. I mean, you can easily name off 10 different categories just for the vendor side. And then you have the bride, the groom, their best friends, so like their bridesmaids, the groomsmen, and friends and family that you may have exchanged information on the day of as well. You're able to do all that, and you're able to write an article. And yes, you SEO it and say, "Okay, beautiful wedding at whatever venue name," and you write about it and you post the absolute best images there. And then once it's live, you get on Instagram. And because we're not going to just make this like some kind of mass email thing, we're going to play it a little bit, and you get on Instagram and you text it to the bride. "Hey, you're live here. Here's your sneak peek." Make the blog post your sneak peek. You look absolutely amazing. And let's back up a little bit. Let's say you did that to vendors first. And I'm totally stealing this from my mentor. I'm not going to lie. Let's say that you get a couple of vendors that they look at it and they're like, these are great. And you post a couple screenshots to the bride and say, people are loving this. You will too. And they see it. What's going to naturally happen? They're going to want to share it with their friends, their family. And then you can go in and then find the bride or the bridesmaids that were there and say, you are absolutely hilarious on the dance floor. There's a photo of you here in this blog post. Check it out. What do they want to do? They want to talk to the bride. Oh my gosh, your photos look amazing, which makes her feel even better. And then they want to share the photo that they found of themselves on Instagram or as a story. And suddenly you have all these sparks of everyone just looking at it. And before long, you can easily have 200-300 page views on a single blog post that you posted just an hour ago. And that's a whole lot better than waiting 3 months to get 5 page views a month on Google.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to yes and that because you said something, and I just want to throw this out there because as a photographer, every time I shot an event, it didn't matter if it was a wedding or what kind of event it was, I always took really amazing pictures of all the vendors. So the DJ, I took a ton of really cool pictures of the DJ, the catering. I took pictures of all the stuff, whatever it was. And I always got their information and I always sent them their pictures. And I gave them a release form. I'm like, hey, use these in all of your advertisements. Just make sure you give me photo credits, blah, blah, blah. Because, especially if, and I, look at their websites, especially if their websites are crappy, I would load them up. Why? Because they remember me. And then when somebody is hiring a catering for something, they're going to be like, oh, I still need a photographer. Oh, you should call Peggy, and you got those people on your side and they become referral partners for you because you took care of them and you treated them with respect and you gave them some free pictures, which didn't cost you anything. You were already there. You got paid for that event. You were going to be taking pictures anyway. It takes 5 minutes more to get a great shot of the food, a great shot of the servers, a great shot of the DJ, a great shot of, whoever else happens to be in the involved in the event, and get those shots and use those to actually, make somebody feel amazing because people love to share amazing pictures. That's the easiest thing. But, I like the idea. I never took advantage of blogging like I should. I'll just tell myself I hate writing words. That's why I'm doing videos. I hate words. Words are not my thing.
I'm going to challenge you right there because in a world where there are thousands of photos posted every second, the saying used to be a picture is worth 1,000 words. But I believe that today 1,000 words is worth 1,000 words.
Oh, dang it. I hate when I get challenges because me, I can't turn down a challenge. I can't. It's just something broken inside of me. Say, Peggy, I bet you can't do this. And it's oh, I'll show you. I sure can.
See, here's what you can do. You can take 5 of your most recent or your favorite artist headshots, and you can literally do the same thing, write about it, what the session was like, what you were speaking about to draw out the emotion or, whatever it was. And there's probably some other people who are involved in the shoot. There's the actor or so the model. I'm not sure if you happen to have a lighting tech on board, then you'd have you'd have them to send it to. Hair and makeup. If there was any kind of set designer on there. So there's all kinds of people immediately right there that you can wardrobe would be a huge thing.
Yeah.
Send it to just those 5 people plus the actor and say, hey, everyone loved your session. You looked great. Hope you get some awesome deals with this. And then they post it and they're like, hey, thanks Peggy for sharing this. Again, boom, right there. You have a lot of people who are able to get their eyes on you. And let's say just for kicks and giggles, you have a link on there that says, want to see the rest of it? Click it. And then they click on the button. There's a form. Yeah, there's a form where they can get access. What do you have? You have an email or they know, hey, this is Peggy. And then you can send them a message immediately after, hey, Thanks for checking out Brandon's headshots. Interested? We can schedule a call right here.
Okay, guys. If you're listening to this, you're a photographer and you're not blogging, I'm challenging you to do exactly what he said. I want to and send it to me, because I will click, I will be on your mailing list. I will love to see it. So I will read your blogs. I will totally get involved in that. In the description, I'm going to put my email in that, and go ahead, feel free to like add me to your list. And maybe I'll even share some on my website and kind of promote that as well. So that's a challenge to you. So you thought you were listening to a podcast, and instead you got a whole marketing lesson and a challenge today. So let's see how you do.
Hey, if people do this, it can be game changing, because there's enough work out there that anyone can do this. Everyone has the people that love them. All you have to do is be present. That's the biggest thing. Like, showing up is half the battle.
Half the battle.
But once you're able to show up and be present in front of people's minds, there's always someone who knows someone who needs your service.
Absolutely. Do you have one final tip? I mean, you just dumped a whole bucket of great tips for us, but do you have one final tip that you want to leave our listeners with today?
Yeah. So with social, I'm just going to say this. Don't trust the algorithms to do the work for you. Get into the DMs. That's where the power is. It's called social media, not show off media. So you want to actually get in there and start some conversations. Anyone who likes who likes your photo, leave a comment back with as much energy as they give you. They give you a smile, you give a smile back. If they actually say something like, "Hey, this is wonderful," you can say something along the lines of, "Hey, thanks, I really appreciate it." Take it a step further. You can even just do I believe it's message in DM, let's say on Instagram, and you can say, "Hey, really appreciate your feedback on this photo." And you happen to do a little bit of digging. "Hey, I love the photo of your dog. It's cute. I also have a whatever dog." That could start a conversation, or it could just be like they like it, like, okay, cool, whatever. But at least you got in there, and you could have started a much more meaningful conversation doing that than just liking, saying thanks for the comment.
Yep. That's what I have been really working on. In fact, probably half the people listening are like, "Yep, she DM'd me," and I was like, "All right, I guess I'll talk to her." because that's just it. Like you said, we're inundated with posts, we're inundated with pictures, but that human connection is what people, I think, it's what I crave. I bought some probiotics for my dog, and I got the nicest response letter, like about my order. I really felt like they cared about my dog's poop. Like, seriously, like I was like, I know it's a form letter, but they did it it was so clever, and it felt so personal. And I was like, that's how I want people to feel whenever I reach out to them. I want them to feel like they are the only person in the world, and I care about your dog poop.
Yeah. Hey, don't be so stiff in your emails. That's a big thing. I forget who. I think it was CD Baby. I cannot remember the email that they left, but it was in the book, Never Lose a Customer Again. I cannot remember who it was written by, but it's Never Lose a Customer Again. And they go through the 5 stages of turning a customer into an evangelist. And one of the things that they did was go into talking about this company, CD Baby, who used to sell music CDs, and how they changed up their email, and they made it incredibly just not stiff at all. And the open rates and the click-throughs and everything was through the roof, simply because it felt like an actual person wrote it.
Yeah. To me, you can see a form letter a mile away, but if it feels like a human wrote it to me, I want that. I crave a human connection. And I think that the pandemic really hurled us all into that place where it's like, we recognize, like, hey, I actually want to talk to a person. I get that everything's automated. AI is a great tool, but I want to talk to the human behind that tool right now. I just want to talk to a human. So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. And I'm just going to put in like this quick little, I know I was just talking about social media, but my favorite device that has really helped me with my connections with other people, it's this phone called a light phone. And it's an aesthetically pleasing phone, right? But, oh, and I'm getting a cough. That was funny. That was convenient timing. All it does is phone calls and texts, and you can upload music to it. And the reason I got it was to take away all the distraction of what an iPhone does, because I'm craving human connection. And like you said, the pandemic really brought that out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for the people that are willing to pivot, we've learned a lot of lessons, and we can go forward in a better way, even with all the hype about AI right now. I still think the AI is not the devil. I think it's a tool. And as long as people use it as a tool, it's going to be okay. The people that are going overboard with it, I don't think they're going to sustain. I really don't, because we want human connection. I'm dyslexic, so I've used like spell check and all sorts of AI sorts of things my whole life since they were available to me. And I appreciate all the tools, but it's a rough draft. It's a tool. And it's same with, all the stuff in Photoshop right now with all the AI. It's a tool, but bottom line, we want the human behind the tool. So be the human behind the tool. Let people see the human side of you.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. AI can be very tempting to let it do all the work, but you will not grow just focusing on AI only.
Yeah. And that's, I think it's a tool. It's a tool like anything else. But speaking of which, how can people find you as a human? And I'll put it in the description below so they can click, but go ahead and tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find my website, B.Human. It's B.Human.world. And that's where you can find my website. That's where you can find any of the services that I offer. And also you can get in touch with me. One thing that is really fun that is currently in the works for photographers is actually a guided branded template, in which going to help people have an entire editorial calendar, help them get a SEO ready website all set up. All the stuff that you would normally buy a template for and have to do yourself can actually guide you through that process so that you can create a brand that is consistent and has a plan behind it, and then also help you have some of the tools to get you to rank on some of those algorithms, but also with a distribution tool to utilize people.
Awesome. So I am going to twist your arm and get you to join our Time Benders community so that all of the photographers have access to you and can find out all the amazing things. So I'm putting you on the spot here, but I want all of our community
got on
members
there
to go over. Yeah.
So I'm signed on, but I haven't been in there since last week. So I'll be on. All right.
So get on TimeBenders, my.TimeBender.world, and then I have a virtual TimeBender space, TimeBendersSpace.com. That it's for video and talking, not all the words if you're word adverse like myself. But I am going to have you there so people can hang out with you and pick your brain. And I'm excited for this. So thank you so much for spending your afternoon with me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blessing, honestly. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, have a great day, and I'll see you guys next week.